Hey everybody, welcome back. Today I'm going to be showing you a really easy way to make prime rib. In fact, it's so easy it's almost impossible to mess up. In addition to that, we're going to make some simple au jus and some horsey sauce as well. So you ready? Let's get into this. Okay, for this recipe we're going to need a prime rib roast, some salt. I'm using sea salt, but you can use whatever type of salt you want. Onion powder, thyme, black pepper, a little bit of granulated garlic, some chives. You can either use dry chives like this, or you can cut yourself some fresh chives as well. If you have fresh chives where you're at, it's a better option than this. We also need some better than bouillon beef base. That was hard to say. Some prepared horseradish, some mayonnaise, sour cream, 1 box of beef stock, a little bit of Worcestershire. I'm using some avocado oil, but you can pretty much use whatever type of oil you want. You want something as neutral as possible though, so this probably isn't the best choice, but I like the flavor, so I'm using it. Finally, we have 2 packets of unflavored gelatin, and we're going to need just a little bit of water. If you'd like to make this recipe, all the ingredients and measurements are down in the description of the video, along with the calorie count, the protein, the carbs, and the fat. Okay, the first thing we gotta do is address our rib roast. Bean! Get down. Anyway, the first thing we gotta do is address our rib roast. In the perfect world, you want a boneless rib roast because if it's boneless, it's gonna cook a little bit more evenly and it's gonna be a lot easier to slice when it's finished. If all you can find is a bone-in roast like this, that's fine. I'm gonna show you how to get that bone out. Other than making it easier to slice the meat, you wouldn't want this bone in here because it's gonna cause the meat to cook a little bit less right up close to the bone. We don't want to deal with that, so we're going to cut it out, and I'll show you how. It's really easy. Basically, we're just going to cut right along the bone, and we're going to be cutting some of this fat cap off too. So we can just tilt this up just like this, and we're going to slice through this all the way down until we get to the bottom. And we can pull this open like that. And then we'll just slice it off. If you want to leave this on, you can, and you can have a nice looking rib roast, and then you'll be able to flop this over to cut your steaks. But I don't want to deal with that, so I'm just gonna lop that thing off right now. You can see this still has a little bit of meat on it, so you could actually barbecue this up and have some ribs too, so you don't want to really throw that away. This is good meat. Next, we're gonna cut right around here just to remove most of this fat cap. In fact, I've got a lot of meat up here, so I'm gonna just kind of cut it down in an angle like this. You can cut off as little or as much as you want to. You can see that was pretty much just one big solid piece of fat right here. I've left quite a bit here, and you could actually cut that down a little bit more. In fact, I think I will, just to make it just a little bit neater. Like that. There we go. We don't want to lose too much meat though. And that looks just about the way I want it to. Now, when you're talking about meat, you have 3 different main grades. You've got USDA Select, USDA Choice, and USDA Prime. People think that when you get a prime rib, it's always prime cuts of meat. It actually isn't. USDA Prime is the best, but it's also the most expensive. Right below that is USDA Choice, which is what this is. And below that is USDA Select, which is the bottom. The biggest difference between the 3 grades is the amount of marbling that you have in your meat. Do yourself a favor, skip the Select, just go with the Choice or the Prime. And for most people, Choice is probably going to be the best choice. Get it? It's a lot cheaper than Prime, and it still tastes really, really great. Okay, now that we got our meat cut, we need a sheet pan. Okay, so I got a half sheet pan here with a grate in it. Definitely you need something in here to keep the meat raised up because you don't want it sitting in the juice. Next, we'll just put this right here. You can see I got some aluminum foil down here. That's not really necessary. That's just in there to catch all the bits when we cook it. That way it makes this pan a lot easier to clean up. Okay, the first thing we want to do with this is we want to score this fat. If you don't do this, it's going to be a lot harder to get the fat to render evenly. And we don't want that, so we might as well do it. So all we want to do is score this fat at an angle. You don't even want to cut all the way through it. You just want to make some marks to make it a little bit easier to cook through this. Here in the front, I'm going to cut a little bit deeper since that fat cap is deeper there. Once you've done that, we're going to do the exact same thing, but we're going to do it the other way. Like this. And like that. See? Easy. Now we want to season this meat. And as a rule of thumb, for something like this, you're going to season it really, really, really heavily.
Are you serious?
Remember, none of the seasoning is going to make it into the center of the meat, so you've got to over season the outside to make up the difference. So first, we're going to put on a lot of salt. And this is tons and tons. We want to get it onto all the different surfaces of this. And rub it in there really good. Okay, once you got that all salted up, we're going to do the same thing, except this time with pepper. Again, we're going to really rub that in here good. One thing to note about pepper is that when you cook it, it loses a lot of that bite. So it ends up being a lot less spicy. Okay, the rest of these spices we're not going to go as heavy on, but still don't be afraid to put a lot on here. So I got my granulated garlic, my onion powder, and my thyme. I'm just doing these all at the same time as I go around so I don't have to keep flipping this thing over. Make sure you pat that in a little bit too, just to kind of get it to stick a little bit. Okay, once we've got this seasoned up, we're going to put this into the refrigerator and let it dry brine. We want to let this sit in here for at least 4 hours, just like this, uncovered. But if you can let it sit for about a day, that would be even better. What this is going to do is it's going to let the outside of that meat dry up a little bit, so when we roast it in the oven, it's going to form a nicer crust. Okay, I've had my roast in here for a full 24 hours, and now we are ready to cook. Remember, you're going to want to take this out of the refrigerator about 4 hours or so before you plan to eat. Not 4 hours before you cook it, 4 hours before you eat it. Now, the reason we need 4 hours is because I'm going to let this sit here for about 30 minutes to let the temperature naturally come up a little bit more room temperature so it's not so cold. And then we're going to use something called a high-low technique. What that is we're going to cook this at 500 degrees for about 20 minutes to develop a crust, and then we're going to drop the temperature down to 250 degrees to cook the insides. The 4 hours just gives us plenty of time to get everything done. While this is sitting here, we're going to dab this with our avocado oil. We don't want to brush it because if we brush it, we're going to end up brushing off some of our seasoning. So you just kind of want to dab it. You don't want to saturate it or anything, but you do want to get it a little bit wet. That way we're going to develop a better crust. So you're just going to want to do this all the way around on the top and on the sides. You don't have to worry about the bottom, just worry about what you can see right now. While that meat's sitting out, we can preheat our oven. So we'll turn this on, and we are going to preheat this to 500 degrees. There's actually two different ways you can do this. You can go with the high temperature first to form the crust and then cook the inside at the lower temperature like we're doing in this video. Or you can do it the other way around where you cook it first at the lower temperature and then turn the temperature up at the very end to form the crust. Typically when you go high-low, you end up with a little bit better crust, and when you go low-high, you end up with a little bit more evenly cooked roast. I personally like forming the crust first, because that's what we're doing right now, right? Okay, preheat's done. Let's shoot this in here and form a crust. I did say you wanted to cook at 500 degrees for about 20 minutes, but really you need to pay attention to your roast. If you feel like the crust is getting too dark, then there's nothing wrong with just going to the next step. Okay, it's been 20 minutes. Let's check on our crust. That's looking pretty good. So now we're on to the second part. So for this, we're going to need a thermometer. You can either use a thermometer like this if you have one that comes with your oven, or if you don't have one of those, you can use one of these little wireless dealies that either has a little base station or it hooks up with your phone. If you don't have one built into your oven, these are really the way to go. You can use an instant read thermometer like this if you don't have anything else, but They're kind of a pain in the ass because it means you're gonna have to keep taking this out of the oven in order to check the temperature, and you really don't want to do that. Alright, so I'm putting this thermometer into the meat. I'm gonna kind of slide it in at an angle because this is gonna go all the way through the meat if I don't. Like that. Then, if you have a Frigidaire wall oven like I do, then we have some special settings we can use. If you have a different oven that has a probe, you might have something similar also. So we're gonna set this to oven, go over to the modes, I'm gonna slide this all the way down, and I'm gonna go to food probe. Now we're doing a convection roast. So the lowest temperature they'll let you set for internal temperature in your meat is 140. We don't necessarily want this to get all the way to 140. It all kind of depends on how you want your meat cooked. 125-ish is going to be someplace around a medium rare. I'm probably going to go about 135 or so, which makes it a pretty nice medium. So I'll just leave that at the minimum, hit next, and then we're going to set the oven temperature at 250 degrees. Now right here you can see the internal temperature of the probe, which is kind of right around 42 degrees, and the oven temperature is at 250 degrees. Once the internal temperature here reaches 140, it'll automatically shut the oven off, but we're probably going to be shutting that off before it gets there. Okay, while our roast is in the oven, we might as well make our horsey sauce. This is going to be pretty darn easy. Let's take a little bit of horseradish. I'm just using prepared horseradish out of the store. Works perfectly fine for this. We're going to add in a bunch of mayonnaise, our sour cream, and a little bit of our chive, and mix her up. Once you got that combined, we'll add in our water and mix that in as well. And then it should just look a little something like this, and you'll be all set. I'm just gonna put this into a smaller container so it doesn't look all messed up and all over the sides of the bowl. And then you can just cover this up and put it in the refrigerator until your meat is done. See, I put it in here because I had a mess and I made another mess. Hey, by the way, if this is your first time here and you want to learn some cool new recipes, get some great cooking tips and tricks and all sorts of other kitchen related things, then start now by subscribing to the channel and clicking the notification bell so you never miss a thing. Okay, the internal temperature of my roast is at 130 degrees, so for me, it's time to get this sucker out of here and rest. And check that out. Looking pretty good there. Now we can remove the thermometer. And I'm going to remove the roast onto my cutting board to rest. While this is resting, we can make our au jus. So we're just going to take a medium-sized saucepan like this, and we're going to heat this under medium heat, and I'm going to throw in my entire box of beef stock. Yes, I know it's boxed stock, but for most people, this is what you're going to use. You're not going to be making your own, so let's make this easy on people as possible. Along with the beef broth, we're going to add in our Worcestershire sauce, our beef better than bouillon, and our 2 gelatin packets. Be sure you mix that up really well with a whisk so you don't have any chunks of gelatin in here or anything like that, because that would be gross. And the last ingredient we're going to add to our sauce is a little bit of the oil that came off of the prime rib when it was in the oven. Now all we gotta do is let this simmer and reduce. We want to let this reduce down to about half of what we have right here, and that should probably take about 15 minutes or so. Hey, Joe's Phenomenal now has channel memberships. For most people, you can see a join button down below the video window that you can click and see what type of perks I'm offering. If you're using an iOS device, you might not be able to see it, and if that's the case, I do have a link down in the description of the video as well. Once you finish reducing this, it's time to check it for flavor. We want it to be a little on the salty side because we need it to give it a little bit of extra flavor to that prime rib, seeing as how all of the seasoning is just on the outside. This is just about how I like it, so I'm not going to add any more salt, but for the most part, that's going to be based on your personal preferences. Let's go plate up some prime rib. Now we can finally slice this up and see how it looks. This is what I'm all about right here, is this end cut. Kind of hard to get those in a prime rib place though, since there's only 2 end cuts for each piece. Let's see. Ooh, that looks fantastic. Look at that. Slice off another steak here to plate up. And I'll say that's a winner. One additional important piece of information about plating is always make sure you're plating onto a warm plate. If you don't, it's gonna kind of suck because you're gonna cool that meat down. This recipe couldn't be any easier, and once you try it, you're gonna be flabbergasted when you find out just how true that is. In fact, I think you're gonna like it so much that you won't be having to go out for prime rib anymore. If you'd like a little bit more information about that oven right back there that I made this prime rib in, I do have an Amazon affiliate link for it down in the description of the video. If you buy anything through those links, I do make a small commission, but it doesn't change the price that you pay 1 cent. If you like this video, then I bet you'll like this video right here where I showed you how to make some really great barbecued ribs in a pressure cooker. Those came out surprisingly good, and you get them in a fraction of the time it takes to cook them outside. Well, that's it for now. I hope to see you back again here really soon, and until that time, I'm Joe, and I hope you have a phenomenal day. Take it easy.